Hello and welcome to today's webinar. EventScan, as you know, is hosting monthly webinars to keep the event industry updated on the latest developments in COVID-19 prevention for live events. And we're glad that you can make it today. And I want to give a shout out to many of our attendees who are now working right in this moment with clients and working on 2021 events, who will be joining us later on when we post up the recorded version of this webinar for review. So we have a lot of information to jump into today, and we do not want to waste any time at all. So we are going to jump in. And if you'll give me a moment, I am going to share my screen and start the presentation. Okay, let's begin. So as you know, today's webinar is about the second wave of COVID-19 prevention. And we have many attendees today who will be watching this webinar live, and of course later on in the recorded version, who are located all over the country. So this is not state specific, this is actually national in the sense of our approach to COVID-19 prevention and how we're informing you about the latest developments. I do want to take a moment and thank our sponsor today, which is Allied Mobile Services. We'll be talking a little bit more later on about what they are doing for the event industry. We've been blessed and very fortunate to have a great relationship with this company, and they are going to be working with us actively to help local event professionals as they begin to implement their prevention measures and protocols in upcoming live events. So let's talk about Major League Baseball. We're going to talk about industry trends, and we are going to talk about announcements concerning live events. And one of the latest developments is the announcement of the 2020 season of MLB. For those of you who are sports fans, I am sure you are excited. I come from a baseball family myself, so of course we are all excited as well. And it was a pleasure to be able to talk with MLB this week, talk with individual teams and hear about their protocol, and also how we are able to help them as well. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. But let's start with what they are doing, because as you can imagine, they are faced with many dilemmas, many challenges. They have talented players. These are high value assets. And as organizations, as individual teams, as their organizations approach their COVID-19 prevention, they have to keep these players' well-being, their health at the forefront of their prevention, of their protocol, for obvious reasons. So they have the 2020 season starting July 23rd. The entire nation is going to be watching MLB because they are the sport, as you know, and NBA as well, but we're seeing MLB. They are going to be the sport that will be live. We'll be seeing how they are enacting their prevention protocol in a live format, and hundreds and thousands of people are going to be able to see this, including all of us. So their season starts July 23rd. They did bring players back into the ballparks, back into training facilities on July 3rd, and that's actually when they started their protocol. As event professionals, this is a great opportunity for us to observe and learn as they are implementing protocol from the minute players and employees arrive at the ballpark, throughout the day in different formats, and then even when they're leaving. And these type of actions, these type of protocols will be also helpful to us in a live format when our guests are arriving for live events, when they're at live events participating and interacting with each other, and when they're leaving. So we definitely want to take note. When their players are arriving, what we're seeing is that they now have individual locker rooms. So suites that were normally designed for ticket holders are now being reformatted and designed as individual locker rooms to keep players separated and to keep their, immediate family or, coaches that work directly with them. It keeps them individualized, which is very important in that format. And then also food preparation. The catering industry is facing a great deal of challenges And so within the ballparks during training and then in the upcoming games, when they start July 23rd, food preparation is individualized. Now, we are seeing that in live events, whether it be weddings, whether it be conferences, where there's individualized lunch packs or lunch kits, dinner kits, everything is individual. And it's just a safe approach for right now. It's always better to err on the side of caution. The most important part that we're seeing in the protocol is temperature checks. And as you know, here at EventScan, that is our specialty. That's what we do. It's temperature checking, or what we call EST, which is checking for elevated skin temperature. With that being our specialty, we are definitely paying attention, and that's why we're in communication with MLB. So what they're implementing are temperature checks upon arrival to the ballpark. And some MLB teams are even implementing throughout the day temperature checks to check on their players, their coaches, their employees, so they can monitor the environment. And within a live event setting, that may not always be possible, but what I am seeing, and I know that my coworkers are seeing, is that when we're working with corporate conferences and live events, we have many clients who are asking for daily, if not almost bi-daily checks. So a check in the morning upon arrival to the conference. Now it's lunchtime, we're going to do a check after lunch. Okay, great. Now day one is complete. It's the evening, and there's an optional temperature check in the evening. So not only in live events, but we're also seeing it at MLB. Let's talk about, we're going to switch gears for a moment. Let's talk about the RNC and the DNC conventions that are coming up. Now, I always prefer to stay out of the political discussion in the sense of party versus party. What I like to look at is what are the trends? Because as you can imagine, these conventions are going to be widely observed, widely watched by the nation, and you have two completely different approaches. And is one approach better than the other? That's not for me to judge. What I do like to look at, and what we at EventScan like to look at, is what are the steps being taken? What are the different types of protocol and approaches from different groups of people? And really the RNC and the DNC are a great case study. And we're going to be able to see this case study rolled out, because as you know, these conventions will be taking place in August, and we will be able to see how effective each approach is. So let me tell you about these approaches, because as event professionals, again, we can take notes and we can observe, and then we can see how we can use our observations to help our clients and help our team. So let's start with the DNC. So their convention is scheduled right now, August 17th through the 20th, this year, literally next month. And it will take place in Milwaukee. Now, what's really unique about the way that the DNC is approaching their convention this year is that they're approaching it as a virtual hybrid event. So they're encouraging their delegates to not travel. They will have a remote viewing option for the convention, so they can stay in the comfort of their home. All of the in-person welcome events and parties and the interaction that we would normally see in past years have been canceled. They are not going to be holding these. And then they've also brought on infectious disease medical experts to advise for their convention. And these experts, they're on the website. You can read about the experts and their background and how effective they've been and what they've been involved in. And it's really great to see the DNC pulling in these great resources and really making sure they have an accurate idea of the exposure that will occur for those who are there at the convention to assist with making it a virtual hybrid event. And so inside of the event community, we are seeing live versus virtual, and we're also seeing hybrid. So it's really great to be able to get to see that next month and see how effective that is on a large scale. And the DNC has hired, I believe the producer was actually the producer of the Super Bowl halftime show last year, maybe the year before. So this is a producer who is very experienced with live events being filmed, and I'm interested. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this goes. I really hope it goes well. So moving on to the RNC. So the RNC is doing something a little different. You know, I said that there's basically polar opposites here. And they're actually going to be having events in 2 different locations spanned between August 21st and August 27th. So they're going to start in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then from there, they're going to move down to Jacksonville, Florida. And we're seeing a high amount of live events, very little of the virtual side, and more of what we've seen in the past, pre-COVID, of the live experience. So that should be very interesting. You know, their security protocol is being managed by the Secret Service, and they are also working with medical experts, and they're enacting a contact tracing protocol, which in the event, in the event community, within the live event conversation, we as professionals are learning about contact tracing, and we're learning how to implement it within our events, whether we have 50 people or 300 people or 5,000 people. So again, a great opportunity to observe, to learn, to see how they roll this out. And then after these conventions are finished, we're going to be able to see, I hope, some data and some results, so we can see how proactive their activities were on each side, and also see how successful they were. So we're just going to get to sit back and we're going to get to watch and learn. So moving on, real quickly, they are doing temperature checks. I need to mention that. So temperature checks are showing up MLB, they're showing up at the conventions. Temperature checks are literally the constant that we see when it comes to in-person events. So let's talk about temperature testing. It is the hot topic of this month. It is the hot topic of this week. And I will say, even this morning, some of the articles that are coming out, it is literally what everyone is talking about. So as event professionals, we need to be up to speed. We need to know what's going on, and we need to know what's effective, what's not effective, because our clients rely on us for that. So I commend those of you who are here today on the webinar, and those of you who are going to be watching the recorded version, because you're educating yourself, and all you can do is good. All you can do is have a positive impact. So let's talk about temperature checking and what we're seeing today versus what we were seeing a month ago when we talked in June. Let's talk about development. So what came out this week, and especially this morning, is the effectiveness or lack of effectiveness with forehead test or forehead temperature taking. So EST, as I mentioned earlier, is elevated skin temperature, right? EST. So to go and test the skin temperature of the body at the forehead, especially on the exterior of the forehead, it actually has a 75% inaccuracy. And that is extremely important. So if you're hosting a live event and you're using like a little hand scanner and you're pointing the laser at people's foreheads, you have a 75% chance that you're going to misread someone's temperature and possibly deny them access to the event and possibly cause a whole nother domino effect of issues. So really at the heart of the conversation, what we really need to focus on is accuracy. How can we get an accurate reading, and how can we reduce the amount of false positives? So the FDA right now, they mentioned this last week, that they are considering the regulation of EST scanners. So back during the H1N1 pandemic, the swine flu, and I think most of us can remember what that was like. During that pandemic, the FDA actually regulated EST scanners. So it was not available on a mass level. You did not see EST scanners on Amazon or online for purchase. It was not at the magnitude that it is right now. The FDA up to this point has not regulated EST scanners. So you can literally order one of these little hand scanners, temperature scanners on Amazon, and be using them at an event. And because it's not regulated, there's really no way to know the accuracy or whether or not it's a quality product. So there is some confusion right now. And because of that, the FDA, they're taking note, they're noticing, and they're beginning to take action. So I think what we're going to see is this huge surplus of temperature scanners online and in the market are going to be dramatically reduced once the FDA begins to regulate these. The UK has said and publicly stated last week that the majority of devices that they are seeing in the market do not meet their requirements. And so again, I would not be surprised if we follow suit pretty soon. So 83% of US companies that are selling these EST scanners, or what they call fever detectors, they're claiming that they're not medical devices. But contrary to FDA definition, they cannot make that statement. And what this is causing is widespread abuse and undue public risk. So the quality of your EST scanner is paramount when using it for a live event and when ensuring the safety of the people that you are managing, the guests that you're managing for your live event. And at this time, only one patented EST device is available on the market with a 0.3 degrees Celsius accuracy. Now that's a lot of scientific talk, but the best way I can put it with the training that I have gone through over the past couple of months is that there's only one device on the market that's patented that has close to a 99% accuracy. That's great. That's what we want. That's what we're looking for. Because again, accuracy is key when permitting people into an event and judging whether or not they should be permitted in. Now, the great news is that this device is the device that we have chosen to install into our event scan station. And because again, we want accuracy and everyone else does, so why not go with the best? So how does it work? And this is a question I get every day. So I want to go on and mention this because this information is very difficult to find online, and I want to share this with you so you are a step ahead of everyone else. So how does it work? You can see, I have a photo here on this presentation where it's a photo of the face, right? And you can see the forehead is identified, but there's also a tear duct, right? We all have them right here, which is also referred to as the inner campus. So this tear duct, this small region near the eye, actually has a certain type of blood flow. This is so scientific. This is pure science here. And the blood flow and the regulation of that blood flow is actually the most accurate place to test for a fever in a human body, which is great. So the FDA has what they call a 501(k) compliance. And thankfully, this patented device, which is the device that we actually have in our stations, allow us to make the claims that we are actually scanning that tear duct. We're not scanning the forehead. So to get really, really scientific, and then we'll back off for a little while, but because that area is so closely correlated to the actual body temperature than any other region of the face, it's less susceptible to heat, cold, and moisture. So when you have event guests showing up for an event, you want to keep in mind that they probably have been walking from their vehicle or their Uber or their transportation bus. They've been walking from that vehicle into the building. And during that time frame, during their transit, they've been exposed to heat and cold, right? They've been exposed to weather conditions. They've been exposed to air conditioning. So there's been a whole fluctuation of exposure. And by testing that tear duct and by actually getting the temperature there, we're able to avoid the impact of those weather conditions and those external conditions. And again, there's nothing better than scanning everyone attending your event and everyone passing with flying colors. There's nothing worse than using a hand scanner or a forehead scanner and 73% of your guests are being tested with a fever, and now the event has been slowed down because you're having to retest and look for the accuracy. Really, really cool info coming out here. So the EST scanners that we have in our event scan system, they've also been installed last week at the Pentagon's Visitor Center in Washington, D.C. So we're seeing these devices installed in government buildings and high security research labs. That's very exciting because we're seeing technology that works, and we're seeing it in action, and we're seeing it be successful. Let's talk about some new developments. So right now, one of the up and coming subjects that you're going to see as an event professional is compliance training. So in South Africa, Denmark, and New Zealand. It's actually nationwide within those continents, within those areas of the world, that specific industries are required to take compliance training. And it's been going on now. I'd say the first time I saw training was in South Africa, and it was over a month and a half ago. So they're ahead of the curve in that respect. Here in the U.S., we're a little behind the curve, and there's a lot of reasons for why that is, but it has popped up here in the U.S. in the film industry. So here at EventScan, we are working with film sets and movie sets because they are trying to get back up and running. They're trying to finish TV shows that were almost completed right before COVID, and now they're trying to wrap it up. And so the film industry is now requiring that every film set has a certified COVID-19 compliance officer on the property. And that is a huge positive in the sense of there is required education for a specific industry to ensure the safety of individuals within the workplace in that industry. And what we're going to see over the next month or two, possibly 3 months, is that more industries here in the US are going to step up. They're going to require a certain level of compliance training, and we're going to see a surplus of education within the workplace. And that's wonderful. And really, education is the way that we can actively help protect ourselves and our families and the people around us. So Allied Mobile Services, who is our sponsor, and we've been just really thankful to them for the education they provided us. But we have gotten a heads up. They will be offering compliance training for the food and the hospitality industry within the next 30 days. I believe that they're getting ready to launch that next month. Of course, there's some red tape they're going through. They're finalizing, certain areas with different states because it will be state specific. But I will recommend that you just, keep an eye on their website, keep an eye on their trainings, because as an event professional, there would be nothing better than to be a certified COVID-19 compliance officer. I just completed my training last week. I have another training this week because we are working with film sets. So, everyone on staff has to be trained and certified. And I can tell you from firsthand, it's very valuable. It's not time consuming. And when you leave a training, you definitely feel better equipped. Now, here at EventScan, we are seeking officers. So if you do go get your training and you do get certified, please reach out to us because we are looking for officers in states all over the U.S. who can help us on site with events. And we are committed to only having certified officers operating, our stations. So, definitely reach out. Let us know if you've taken a course, and we would love to talk to you. I'm going to stop for a moment and just really touch base on EventScan, give you an update on that. So we are seeing, we have an overwhelming demand for our scanners. There's a limited amount of these scanners here in the US, and most of them are being used in government buildings and research labs. So we're fortunate to have our hands on these scanners for the event industry, but that's been done with purpose. The purpose of us having these is to rent them out and make them available to the live event industry so we can get the industry back up and running. And I can't tell you how happy I am to be involved with that. We do test the temperature of the inner campus, which we talked about earlier, the secure duct. So we're not scanning anywhere else on the face. We're looking for accuracy. We have contact tracing enabled with our EventScan system. That's incredibly important because after an event, you want to know who was scanned. You want to know what their temperature was. And the best part about it is we don't require an independent power source and we don't require Wi-Fi. And we're the only EST scanner that you can use outdoors, IP65 rated, which is great. Lastly, we are able to export the records from a scanning session. So, there are insurance providers that are not providing event insurance unless these particular devices are on the property and they are taking active evidence at all times of everyone being scanned. So as a customer of EventScan, you receive those documents after the event for your insurance provider and for your legal team. So let's go over, we went over this last month and I want to go over it again. I feel like if we can go over the current protocol that's being used nationally and be reminded of this protocol, it's going to keep us aware when we're within the workplace and within events what we need to be doing. So these are the CDC recommendations. So of course, they're recommending that you use EST scanners for record keeping, and we've talked about that. They also are recommending hand washing stations or automated hand sanitizer kiosks for guests. Those of you who are in Texas probably read late yesterday that the Texas Education Agency released all of their recommendations for Texas public schools. And I recommend that you go Google it and read it. It's good information to be aware of. But they are requiring hand washing stations or hand sanitizer stations in every single classroom. So, yes, we're here to talk about live events, but it's good to be aware of what's being implemented in our communities. So these CDC regulations, they apply to everyone. They don't just apply to live events. UV sterilization tools are being used. There's all kinds. There's units that you can place in the corner of rooms that will sanitize the room, sterilize the room. There's also UV wands that you can use, and we see a lot of car dealerships using those on vehicles as they're being test driven, and then, sterilized afterwards. It's imperative that event venues and facilities have a regular sanitation schedule. And this is not the sanitation schedule we saw before COVID. This is a sanitation schedule that occurs with a cleaning after every single event that takes place in the venue. You always want to adhere to state regulations and health department guidelines. So be aware of your county regulations, be aware of your city regulations, know about what resources are out there and are at your disposal, because those are the sources that you want to have on speed dial if you run into an issue. I highly recommend this, and the CDC does too. If you have a live event, have complimentary disposable non-medical grade masks on site. They're very affordable now. The supply and demand has definitely leveled out. And by having those, you're ensuring that every person who walks through the door, if masks are required in your county or in your state, then you have them readily available. And if someone says they don't have one, that's fine. I have one for you. It makes it convenient, and it's much, much less drama. Lastly, let's talk about financial assistance. There are new assistance programs popping up in counties all over the country. I probably received 20 to 22 alerts just yesterday on counties that were announcing grant programs for small businesses. So if you've looked into it, say a month ago, and you did not see a program that was available to you or to your venue or your business, stay on top of it. Every day, every 2 days, take a look and Google it. Take a look and jump onto your city council's website. Like, for example, what did I see? It was Santa Fe, New Mexico announced 3 different small business grants and grant programs. And that's phenomenal when you look at the population of Santa Fe. So again, don't be disheartened. Just keep your eyes and your ears open. Here at EventScan, we have our own financial assistance program because we have event professionals that are renting our stations and they're using them for live events or using them for businesses. And so, if you were to jump onto, our affiliate program, we do have a COVID-19 assistance program for our affiliate participants. And all of that information is at our website. We won't go into too much of it today. Like I said, it's there, it's very informative, and it's easy to learn more. But definitely with each rental, there's a minimum of $500 in assistance for the event professional. And that makes a huge difference. It's our way of paying it forward. And here we go, some more information, all the things that you get when you join our affiliate program, processing time charts, slide decks to show to your clients, more science. The more science you know about EST scanning, the better you can serve your clientele and your coworkers. And then, of course, we are able to get discounted prevention supplies from alliedmobile.us if needed for our affiliates. Again, we're just trying to get resources and get them into the industry. So very quick presentation today, very quick webinar. Like I said, the goal of today was to dive into what's happening now, what's happening in the future, and what to look for. So August is going to be an extremely exciting month in the sense of prevention. We're going to see MLB, they'll be up and running, they'll be playing games, teams will be visiting teams. We'll see the RNC and the DNC having their conventions. We're going to see the FDA really clamping down on the surplus of ESP scanners out there and getting only the quality, reliable ones that actually can fulfill on their promise, getting them out into the market, readily available. And we'll be back. So, next month in August, we'll have our webinar again, and we'll take a look and see what's going on. And again, what's coming up in September, what's coming up in October. And we're going to be with each other, step by step. So that concludes our webinar for today. I do encourage you to shoot me an email. Let me know if you have any questions, and I would be more than happy to answer those questions. And if you just want to say hi, or you just want to share some concerns or something that you're facing on a daily basis, that's what we're here for. And we'll always be here. So have a great day. Enjoy your afternoon and take care out there. I wish you the best.